right, Pat. I told these guys a couple days ago, and they laughed in my face. I said, this is a dangerous game for the Vikings. The Lions have played 3 games the last 3 weeks, 5 points separating them in all 3 games. They almost beat the Vikings at home.
Yes.
They've had 3 extra days for Dan Campbell to study film and rest up for this game. I don't know. I have a bad feeling on behalf of the Vikings about this game this weekend.
These games always depend when you're playing a team like this, how it starts. If you get ahead of them 10-0, they'll just lay down like dogs and let you beat them as bad as they want to. If you do something stupid early, throw an interception, give them a touchdown, get them interested, then you could be in a game. But I don't know. Generally speaking, this is the time of year that teams like this quit. So we'll see. Now they've only had, was it a month ago that they got beat 42 to something, that they got killed, and then they came back. You thought, okay, that's it, and then they came back and started playing closer. But I don't know. They're already disgusted with Jared Goff there, right? They don't want him anymore. So
it's pretty bad.
I can't imagine that the Vikings can somehow lose this game. But I heard a lot of people share your view. Now, there's some history attached to the Bears. They never went in Soldier Field. There's no history really attached to Lions' failure. Generally speaking, they've been fully responsible for any chances of respectability. Now, didn't Zim get swept by them one year, though, when
yes.
he got here?
Yes, he did.
Not year 1 or year 2, but he got swept by them one year. The number of times the Vikings have been swept by the Lions, I bet you can count them on one hand. They've been in the same division since their I think, weren't the Lions, when the Vikings first came in the East? I think they were in the East. So they might not have been in the same division, but I know since 66 or so, they've been in the same division. So.
Yeah, it might be one of the greatest gifts in sports. To get the Detroit Lions for that long might be one of the greatest gifts any team, especially in this godforsaken town, has been given.
What's your view, gentlemen, of 4-team divisions? I don't like them. I don't. With the 32 number, it's hard to do it some other way, but I don't like them.
I get they're trying to create, and I think they've done a good job of, because they're trying to create rivalries, right? They're trying to get you to play a team twice, and if you have more than 4 teans in the division, then it eats into too much of your schedule.
Then you don't have as many TV games you can set up and stuff. But I don't know. I don't like it. 32 teams, but you can't have an 8. So I guess we're stuck with it, right?
I think I like playing the Packers twice and the Bears twice and creating those rivalries, but I don't love it when a team goes 7-9 or 8-8 and gets to play a home playoff game against an 11-win wild card team, right? Not that happens every year, but
we're now getting a generation of Viking fans or two that don't even remember the glorious days when the Bucs were in the division with us and we had 5 teams. Mm-hmm. And for much of that period, you had 3 rotten. The Bucs were rotten too. So it was really an easy schedule back then because you had the Lions and the Bucs and the Bears, of course, in the 80s were great. But generally speaking.
But the Packers weren't, Pat.
That's true.
The Packers were terrible.
Till Favre came to town, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were 20 years without a playoff. They made the playoffs once and got beat, right? They had one close, and the Magic Man's 1 year ended like 88 or 9 ended about a 20-year period where they hadn't been in the playoffs. So.
Infante, right?
Yes, yeah.
Was their coach?
Yep.
It's always funny to me, Pat, how Packers fans love to talk about their history, but they like to omit that 25-year stretch that they made the playoffs for 3 years.
And also that 25 years when you could walk over there and get a ticket anytime you want to do this whole idea.
That's amazing.
My family has been on the ticket list for 75 years and we could never get tickets. Well, you could have walked down to could have walked down to the ballpark and bought them for a handful for $20 there for about 20 years. So.
Hey Pat, speaking of family, I don't know. Did you catch Brian Kelly's address to? Was it an LSU basketball game? I think last night.
Yes, it's one of the greatest things.
And
I haven't seen it yet.
God.
No.
He has invented a twang.
That Southern accent.
I saw some headline on his
family.
Wonderful acting performance.
Yes, he literally, and so there's a clip of him. Jeff Darlington actually put together the clip of him talking to the Notre Dame team 2 days ago or 3 days ago, saying the word family like a Midwestern. Well, he's from Boston, but he's been in Boston and the Midwest for basically his whole life.
Yes.
And then he's on the microphone in front of this live audience, LSU fans. I'm here with my family. Like what?
Unbelievable.
The whole thing, Pat. It's great because like the whole thing there's a twinge there and a twang, and I haven't even won my first game here yet. All right, and it's one of the greatest things. I think I watched it 5 times.
I saw the headline and I didn't know what
You'll love it
because I haven't looked into it yet.
My family.
Are they happy with this hire?
I mean, yeah, probably. I don't know.
No idea.
I don't think they care. Right? They just want someone. They just want a national championship. So if they think he can win a national championship,
well,
I don't know.
It's. I don't know what my guy Ed. I'm a big fan of Ed, and I got to talk to his guy that used to shovel shrimp with him down there. But Ed dropped the wife who's got the disease. Did you see that? They're divorced.
No, did he?
Is this after he won the national title?
Yeah, it'd be a year ago. All of a sudden, they're divorced. Yeah, I don't know what's.
Sounds like Ed may have that national championship may have gone to Ed's head a couple of years back.
I'll never forget watching Leach's first game against him when he brought in Mississippi State in there. And I said, "You watch that game?" He said, "What happened?" I mean, remember they put up like 600 and some quarterback you never heard of put up 600 yards passing or something against them. How can you, when you look at the LSU athletes from that championship team in the NFL now, you can't understand how things deteriorated like they did. It's because they're unbelievable collection of athletes.
Well, Judd and I are just excited because yesterday we were offered life-changing contracts with ESPN Radio Tuscaloosa, and we're excited to bring our families down there. And welcome to Mackey and Judd Daily Football Talk.
My favorite story to tell you what the South in football means is this goes back a long time. Gophers won the Big Ten in '82, right? The Dutch won the Big Ten, and they only had to play one game the first round was in Dayton, not anything to do with this because it was like a 23 or 4 team field back then, and they played terrible and beat like Eastern Tennessee or somebody by 1 point, and then they went down to Birmingham for the regional, and they were the top seeded team. UAB was there, and they beat Ralph Sampson in his last college game, UAB. And I opened up the Birmingham paper the next day, and Billy Lumpkin, the columnist, had a column on some third-team guard trying to move up on the Alabama football team. The fact that Ralph Sampson and Virginia were playing the hometown basketball team didn't get Billy to the ballpark. Didn't get Billy inside the arena. It was unbelievable.
Irrelevant.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So that's Kely, I gotta go immediately. Go watch that. Unbelievable.
Oh God, you'll absolutely howl. It's one of the greatest.
There's now. Do you guys follow this Joey Molinaro? He works at Barstool now, but he's the impressionist. He does. I mean, he literally does like everyone. And there's. I haven't looked at this yet, but he's got an impression of Nick Saban congratulating Southern Brian Kelly.
Oh, his Saban. Saban's probably his best impression too.
That's
good. Yes.
Pat, when are we playing baseball again? What's the over under?
May. I don't think we'll make the April 25th was the starting date, and after the 94-95 struck, and the replacement players. I don't think we're going to try that one again, but it was April 25th. I got a hunch it's going to take a little longer. How about the fact that they took everything off their website? Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, and now a bunch of players. So they changed the rosters to just like anonymous, like gray faced avatars, and now a bunch of baseball players are taking those.
Any players to say they're trying to profit off a work stoppage because apparently of national labor laws or something you can't profit off of.
Yeah, but now a bunch of players have taken those gray avatars and put them as their Twitter photos.
And I saw the guy who came out thinking it was a great show of unity, Trevor May. Did you see that? Trevor
Such
May,
a great,
Mr. Social Media, Trevor May came out and came up with that. Yeah, it's not off to a flying good start here, as Manfred tries to explain. They're doing this to speed up the process.
Yes.
And they sped up the process by leaving the meeting after 7 minutes and now saying no talks are planned for the future yesterday, right? Nothing's on the schedule. What do they think? The players are going to come cowering to him on February 20th or something?
His quote too was he said that what the players want is bad for the small market teams, and he doesn't want that. So he doesn't want guys to be it. This is just going to be a mess. It's going to be a bleeping mess, and they just don't care.
And you have the difficulty of Tony Clark, being told that he lost the last two negotiations. I don't know how he lost that negotiation, but the national narrative on that is that the owners made all this progress when they settled 5 years, and Tony got beat. And how could Tony agree to this deal? So now Tony's got to show his manhood and stand up and win something. But I do love they're going back. I do love the fact they're trying to go to the previous NHL format of 29 and a half years old to become a free agent.
Yeah.
But, they're just throwing out. And the other thing is, one of the big incentives they're offering is the universal DH. What do the players care? They've played without it since 1973.
There's like 7 guys, like Nelson Cruz is going to be happy if you have a universal DH, because now 10 more teams are going to bid on him, right?
They think it's gonna, I mean, it's silly, the stuff that they say they're offering. That's not an offer of anything.
And of all the things, like, I do think a universal DH makes
it
makes baseball more fun to watch, but it doesn't like move the needle for audience or anything.
No, the owners want it. The owners want it, but they're offering it as a big incentive to the players.
Yes.
And I don't know. Manfred is. They just got a bunch of guys there, and as I wrote this in my latest tirade the other day, that when they come out of this, the big incentive they're going to give fans is 2 more bad teams in the playoffs. And you can pick your opponent like you're a bunch of kids down in the street corner, and they're going to try to sell that as
pick your wild card opponent.
Picking your opponent is the dumbest thing. I was all in, and I still am on the coin flip game. Picking your opponent, I mean, that's it looks like we can beat the Pirates. Like, okay.
Here's the deal. The other deal is, last year, you put, you have teams. You have the Dodgers and the Giants fighting down to the end, the 2 best teams in baseball by record, to make sure they don't have to play in a 1-game shootout, right? Against if the only incentive for winning the division now is, you get to play a best of 3 in your home park. One of the Dodgers sure aren't going to be as nervous as they were, playing the Giants that last weekend, trying to avoid a 1-game wild card. And then the other thing is, if you had 7 teams in the playoffs last year, there would have been no drama as to which 2 of the 4 American League teams weren't going to make the wild card. Seattle and Toronto would have both made it. So the last 2 weeks, there's nothing. You know what? 7 teams are going to the playoffs. And it also would have put the Reds and the Mets in the National League playoff. You want to see the Reds or the Mets? They both were about 3-25 in September.
I think the Reds are wildly
Yeah.
entertaining myself.
But the Red Sox could have picked their opponent, Pat, and that would have been really exciting. Who are you going to
Will
pick?
they pick the Yankees? I don't think so.
Yeah, we'll take Billy from down the block. We'll play his team.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a screwed up sport. There is no I don't think the way they're spending money though, and the throwing around and the whole Twins thing the other day watching it with, I don't think they have any. I don't think they have any realization how much trouble they're in. Major Baseball. I
agree.
Yeah, I saw your thing, Phil, on Twitter. The average age of a baseball fan is now 57.
Yes.
Yeah.
NBA is 42.
I was surprised how old the NFL fans are.
Yeah, it's pretty much right between baseball and NBA.
Mm-hmm.
But the NFL, but I feel like I tweeted this. The NFL and the NBA, although not perfect, they on a regular basis are re-examining what does our TV product look and feel like.
Yes.
Like what does the audience respond to? More passing? Okay, let's loosen the rules here. Baseball doesn't seem to do that.
Somebody tweeted this out yesterday. You can look now. This is a long time ago, 1965, Dodgers Giants World Series time. I think 232 was like the longest, and that was a great World Series.
And so how a part of it is. I mean, part of it is, just like TV breaks are longer now, but it's fewer pitches. I mean, there's probably 50 more pitches being thrown in a game now, minimum, because guys were swinging early then. Pitchers were throwing it over the plate more often. Pitchers didn't have 7 pitches that they were trying to throw 93 miles an hour. They were throwing it over.
I would imagine there might have been, when you add up everybody, 30 pitchers used in those 7 games too.
Yeah.
And 66 pitchers in 6 games.
I heard your question to Buxton, by the way. He had no clue, but it was great as you documented what the hell was wrong with baseball.
I was asking that question more for Levine and Falvey.
I know you were. I know exactly what you were doing. This is the
product you have given us.
You
13,300 hitters in both leagues that were qualified. 8,500 more strikeouts than 10 years ago in a season. I mean, I don't know what they now we're getting I want to know what Buxton's going to say when the 31-year-old hitting technician that they've hired as their new hitting coach. Once he finally got all these people who wanted to have a leg kick, no leg kick, get away from, he finally said, get the bleep away from me. Yeah. I'm going to hit. Now he's going to have some 31-year-old wiener come up to him and say, "Oh, you got to." I said to his buddy Lavelle, I said, "What's he going to say when this guy comes up and he says he's going to say, I got this. Don't worry about it." I hope he does.
Well, that's like Josh. I mean, when some guy who has no background comes up to Donaldson, who prides himself on being, a professional hitter, and says, "Josh, here's what I think we should do with your swing." Mm-hmm. You might beat the crap out of him.
Or like a Nelson Cruz, who's a nice guy, but he's not on the team. Not going to be on the team, but the point stands.
No. By the way, somebody, he said he had Miami wants hitting, right? In the worst way. They just gave money to somebody, and they got 4 or 5 great young arms. Let's do it. Sano, give them Sano for 2 pitchers.
They're in on. I don't think they signed him, but they were interested in Rosario as a free agent too.
Yeah.
So
and then you can put Kirilloff at first base where he belongs. I'm not as down on Miguel as I was most of the last season, and but you got a chance to trade him for a couple of arms. They got a bunch of young pitching in Miami, and I would investigate that, because they probably take Miguel in a heartbeat right now, because they need somebody to go watch a game down there. So
well, Pat, all right, enjoy your weekend, and if the Vikings fall into this trap game, then You guys can
can,
all apologize to me on Monday.
You can take bows. You can take bows.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's right.
And we're gonna and I don't know whose fault it's gonna be, but we're gonna blame it on Kirk if they lose this game.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Yes.
It's time to blame it on.
I've already got
Showcase
my
home
5.
state.
I got my 5 reasons for blame already lined up for Kirk before the game even started.
Okay, good enough.
All right.
So,
Patrick Ricey, Star Tribune, and you can find him every Monday on Ricey Unchained, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday here on Mackey and Judd.